Hi everybody, John from Solo Boss. I run water attack pressure washing in Australia, and this is my $130,000 truck. Thank you. So this is my $130,000 truck. It's a Fuso Canter, nice little unit. We've got the city cab, which is a little bit narrow down the side of the tray. So you see how far those mirrors stick out. So I wanted that. I didn't want the bigger cab, so I could fit for gates and stuff. So we designed it for that. It is a 4.5 ton truck, fully loaded with water and all my gear. It sits at 4.3 ton. So still got 200 kilos if I wanted to add or adapt anything. So I got room to play with that. It's a 100 litre fuel tank, so it's pretty good that way. So the pressure washers we got on here is we got Executive Gen X2 from Jetwave from South Australia. It is a hot water unit. This one is 21 litres. It runs at 4,000 PSI. It's got the burner there. So we've had to adapt the exhaust onto the side there. It did fall down and burn my little thermostat, so we had to wire it up. So we're in the process of getting a new one welded up. The burner breathes out through the top. So it comes out through the top there. So that's nice. And 20 litres, it's 10 litres of unleaded and 10 litres of diesel. For anybody like to know, you do run out of diesel before you run out of unleaded, so your burner does cool down. So the cold water unit is an 8-gallon Centaur Gen X2 from Jetwave as well. Nice big pump with a gearbox on the back. It is run by a Honda GX800. The hot water is run by a 650. You can't quite see it in there. This has got the automatic throttle control, so it's built into the side there. So it throttles up and throttles down whenever needed. And all the overflows feed into the water tank at the back there. We've got double filters on there, and then we've got another filter down on the hose reel down the back there. So I left this part of the truck empty because I do put a gutter back in here. I do carry a spare rake, a spare broom, shovel. My water fed pole is just there. We carry 2 spare fuel cans, unleaded diesel, especially when we're doing a hot water job. We've got a scrubbing brush that's just tucked in here. Got a long lance tucked in there, and then just in here we got the 2 lances. And I generally run turbo. I've got 2 turbo tips, one for the 5 and one for the 8. They come quite handy. And then all our gun connections, we run a quick connect to adapt all our different lances into the one, and then we run a quick connect onto our ball valves as well. So we got some degreaser tucked in the back here. We got a spare filter just in case we come up against some dirty water. So that way we got 3. We got this one, that one on the back there, and then we got the 2 that come into the pressure washer. So we got 3 types of filters, just to make sure that it stays safe. So coming around the back here, what we might talk about is we got the 21-inch Hammerhead. It's just turned upside down. I got it tied over there. So I got some brackets welded, as well as some mountain brackets in there. I put the ladder up inside so it's nice and neat and tidy, because I got solar on the roof, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And we've got a nice big toolbox here that has all the odds and ends in, some extra spray bottles, my water fed pole, adapters, some wasp spray, some roof harnesses in there as well, in that toolbox. And then coming around the back here, we got 5 reels. So we get dedicated hot reel, dedicated cold reel. The cold reel is on a pump, so that's all electric, which is it takes next to no time to wind up, so I'm pretty happy with that. we got the water feed hose. So the water feed hose feeds the 500 litre water tank, which is okay, so the water tank is 500 litres, about 140 gallons of water, so that's more than enough. Most of the times I can run both of the pressure washers, depends on the water from the house. Sometimes we've got to drop another line into top of the tank, so we had to do that the other day, but we can still run 50 odd litres a minute out of both those machines, so it's pretty good. So then on this side here, I got this is going to be my 12 volt system when I get it all wired up. It's not wired up yet because I haven't got the system, but we are running a 24 volt system, 5/8 hose, 50 meters of hose on that reel. We do have a J-rod setup, or we have a red gun, just depends what we're doing. And however I feel that I want to wash that house down. So we have our soap tank around the back here. We have our chemical tank sitting right there, which is 300 litres. Is the legal amount that I can carry without a license. So that's, you know, just under 90 gallons, I suppose it would be. We have our 24 volt pump, which is the 10 gallon. So that thing is a weapon. So what we have is a Midwest hydro mixer, which is a 1-inch valves. Soap valve, which is a 1/2 inch, and I did hook up a bypass because I found with the 3-way valve, because that just stops that pump from trying to suffer a little bit. So nice 1-inch bypass valve straight into the 3/4 of the feed, that which is more than ample, and it saves that pump and gives it a longer life. So on here is my little transfer pump. So if I can't get back to the chemical shop, because we normally just drop it in top and feed it in through there, but if I can't get back and I've got to feed it through little bottles, what I've done is I've got a 5.5. That one there is a 24 volt. You can use a 12 volt, 3-way valve, one feeding from my tank, one feeding straight into the chemical tank, so I can pump it straight in, and then my hose pull down, and then I can drop that straight into a bucket, suck it up, and it goes straight in through the pump, straight back up into here. And then when I'm finished with it, chuck it back to water, rinse out the pump, and then chuck it back to the main line. And then what I do is I run it for a couple of seconds just to make sure I got air coming up here, so we can get an airlock is what we want to do up here, because if you don't have an airlock, it can gravity feed back down and then come out your hose. So you just want to watch that. I like to put an airlock up here, and it just stops any I don't have to worry about it. All right, so that's the equipment on the truck. What we got is we got a canopy on the truck, which is a roof. I got it done real cheap. It was about $4,000 because I did want to put signage up around the top, as it is quite effective, because I didn't want to overpopulate my signage. I wanted to spread it out as much as possible. But the main reason was that is we can run working lights. We got 2 lots of solar panels up on the roof. So you got 2 panels there and 2 panels on the other side. So let me jump on the back here. So we do run 2 lots there. So 340 watts on the left side and 300 watts on the right side. So this is my toolbox. This is my everything. So we have spare wire, spare tips, nozzles, We got all the wiring that we could ever need. Spare hose clamps, spare breathers, zip ties. We got a spare soft wash nozzle in case we need it. I've got some True Blue in there as well. We got different tips if we need to get into that as well. We got a gas powered solenoid over there, soldering iron. So we've got over here we've got spare straps. We've got heaps of tools, spare fuses, O-rings, always come in handy, especially with fuses. Spare gloves, socket set, knife, burner, pretty much everything you would possibly need. We've got some WD-40 in there as well. I do have a spare soldering iron for some reason in there. Got heaps of multi-grips, a wire stripper, make my job a little bit easier. So then in here is basically the brains to all the soft wash system. So we have a 200 amp lithium battery setup, which is mainly for all my 12 volt stuff. We did it that way because it's removable. So if I go camping, I can take it with me. And it was a write-off for the business. So that was great. What it does is basically sits in here and charges all my headphones. I've got a couple of sets of headphones just to, if one battery runs out, I change it back over to another one and keep listening to podcasts. Heaps of cords to charge. I've got my toaster in here, can't forget my toaster. And we got another headphones, so we got multiple. And then over this side, this is just for my 24 volt system. So I've got two 120 amp dig cycle batteries. They're a slimline battery, so they're nice and tiny, and they can fit in there nice and easy. And it's all run by this control unit, which has got a DCD charger on it. And that one's got a DCD charger as well. So they both charge from the truck itself, and they both charge from the solar. So each one of the solar units feeds one of the battery banks. So the 12 volt one gets a solar bank. And people would ask, and I did a little bit of research on this. If you wanted to know a little secret, this is the golden tip. In America, they call them troll bridges. So this thing in here. So this thing is called a troll bridge. And that purple and blue wire hooks onto one battery and then hooks onto another one in there. So it basically hooks onto both of them. And what that does is when it senses the motor is running for the 24 volt system, it'll run in series. And then when it's charging off the roof or charging off the truck, it'll change back to parallel so it can charge both batteries in the one time without ever needing to hook up both batteries. So that troll bridge in there, they're worth about $200 and they're well worth it. So I can't highly recommend getting one of them if you're going to have a 24 volt system, because it saves you a ton of time. And in the 8 months that I had the truck, so we built this truck just before Christmas last year, I've never had to hook up my battery system to power. So it all runs by itself. It's all maintained by itself. So what these DCD chargers do is they drain the battery and then they top it up through the day. So they drain it, they'll take it out at about 2%, and then they'll top it back up just to keep the battery in pristine condition. As you can see, that one's sitting on 13.4 volts, so it's full. That one's full. That one's got 800 hours standby time, so there's nothing drawing off it. But if I was to turn the lights are running off this one, so if I was to turn the lights on right around, you see it starts drawing the power, and then as soon as I turn them off, the power will go back up. So, and then over here, which is just a winch motor that we hooked up to feed the electric reel down the back. So we just got a spare blower in here. I got a couple of drills and grinders, and then we got some spare what have we got in there? Just some nozzles and tips and some tape and stuff in there. And every truck got to have a first aid kit. So first aid kit in there, nice and neat. Still got a lot of work to do with my truck. I've got to play around in here and get all this organized and more tidy. We got a little light bar that sits just here. There goes. It's got an orange light, and then it's got a bright white light. So, and that one always stays on. And that's my toolbox. And that's my 130,000 plus truck. If you like it, or if you need any more information, you can comment down below or hit me up on my page, Solo Boss, on YouTube. I'll try and help you out as much as possible. You let me know, and I'll catch you later.